House will come back to order. House will come back to order. Mr. Clerk, would you ring the bell? All right, we're going back to work. All members. Chair recognizes Chairman Sam Watson for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House agree to the Senate amendment to HB 1039.
Chairman Watson has moved that this House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 1039. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 1039 to be entitled an act to amend Chapter 12 of Title 13 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to the automatic renewal provision so as to provide additional protections for consumers who enter into service contracts that contain lengthy automatic renewal provisions.
Chair recognizes Chairman Watson to explain the Senate amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, all we're doing here is we're changing the 12-month time period to 24 months dealing with automatic renewals. There was an agreement reached on behalf of the Senate and on behalf of most of the people that are in the industry that do these type of auto-renewing contracts to kind of meet in the middle. And then we also just put into the piece of legislation here the effective date so that everybody knows when to be prepared for this. And those are the changes. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
You do not appear to have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Appreciate your support.
On the gentleman's motion, this House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 1039. All those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines.
Alexander, Hanulowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D, Jones S, Jones T, Jones V, Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B, Moore C, Morris M, Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M, Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague, Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell, Dickerson, Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon, Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan,
Yes.
Park, Pruitt, Rogers,
Yes.
Singleton, Stovall,
Yes. Yes.
Williams R,
Yes.
Barr, Beasley Teague, Bennett,
Yes.
Bodie, Cannon, Clark J, Dempsey, Dollar, Drenner, Dreyer, Dukes, Fleming, Gilligan, Hitchens, Hogan, Holly, Hutchinson, Jones J, Jones T, McCall, Nelson, Wen, Petrie, Saints, Smith M, Thomas A.M., Welch, Williams M.F.
Members will look at the board and be sure it is correct. Clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 151, the nays are 0, and this House has agreed to the Senate amendment to House Bill 1039. Chair recognizes Representative Meeks for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the House agree to the Senate substitute to HB 1093.
Bonnie. No. Clerk will read the caption to House Bill 1093.
House Bill 1093 to be titled, an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 8, of Title 2 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to agricultural commodity commissions generally, so as to provide for an agricultural commodity commission for wine and grapes.
Chair recognizes Representative Meeks to explain his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, previous piece of legislation that we passed that creates the Agricultural Commodity Commission for Wine and Grapes allows gives the Department of Agriculture the opportunity to appoint members to that commission from individuals that are submitted by the industry. The change in this piece of legislation is simply the implementation date from the original legislation that was passed. With that, Mr. Speaker, I will answer any questions.
You're going to have a question, Representative Meeks, if you care to yield.
Yes, sir, Mr. Speaker.
Chair recognizes the Chairman of the House Agriculture and Consumer Affairs Committee, Chairman McCall, for a question.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Is it not true that the genesis of this bill came from a supper we had up at a winery in the Speaker's district?
That's what I heard through the grapevine, Mr. Chairman.
And is it not further true that you picking up brownie points by doing this bill?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks, I hope. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If there are no other questions, I'll yield the will.
You have another question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir, I'll yield for one more.
I like that, hear it through the grapevine. Chair recognizes Chairman Martin for a question.
Gentleman Neal,
Yes, sir.
you just mentioned it changed the implementation date. Could you tell me what it changed? It was effective on the governor's signature. It's now going to be effective.
It was originally effective July the 1st.
Okay, and so it's now effective. on the
It's
governor's-
now,
Thank you.
it's now September 1st.
Okay, that's not what I was thinking. No, I'll look for.
I don't see any further other questions.
I'll yield the will, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1093, all those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Estration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLeod, McLaurin, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Huen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell,
No.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble, Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.,
No.
Kirby, Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan,
Yes.
Park, Pruitt,
Yes. Yes.
Rogers, Singleton,
No.
Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R.,
Yes.
Bennett, Bodie, Cannon, Carpenter, Carpenter, Carter, Corbett, Dempsey, Dollar, Drenner, Dreyer, Donahue, Gamble, Jones V., When, Nix, Ridley, Shannon, Silcox. Smith L. Smith R. Thomas E. Yurda.
Members will look at the board and make sure it's correct. And the clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 1093, the ayes are 150, the nays are 8. And this House has agreed to the Senate substitute House Bill 1093. Chair recognizes Chairman Bonnie Rich for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that this House agree with the Senate substitute to House Bill 953.
Chairman Rich has moved that this House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 953. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 953 to be titled an act to amend Part 1 of Article 3 of Chapter 5 of Title 50 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating the general authority, duties, and procedure of state purchasing.
Chair recognizes Chairman Rich to explain her motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This was a bill requested by the Department of Administrative Services to amend the State Purchasing Act to put into one place certain contractual provisions that the state is not allowed to include in its purchasing contracts. The Senate version provided an amendment to the Purchasing Act to allow the state to enter into agreements with certain cooperative purchasing organizations. Those are the changes, and I am available for any questions.
I don't see any questions for you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
On the lady's motion that this House agree to the Senate amendment to House Bill 953, those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Manolowitz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chiokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Estration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yurda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Morrissey, Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes, Gamble, Gilliard,
Yes. Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan,
Yes.
Park, Pruitt,
Yes. Yes.
Rogers, Singleton, Stonewall,
Yes. Yes.
Williams R., Dubnik, Dukes, Donahue, Henson, Laricchia, Thomas E.,
Representative Henson is trying to vote. Any others? Members, look at the board and make sure it's correct. Clerk will lock the machines on the lady's motion. The ayes are 158, the nays are 0. This House has agreed to the Senate amendment to House Bill 953. Chair recognizes the Chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, Chairman Harrell, for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to move this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 879.
Chairman Harrell has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 879. Clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 879 to be entitled an act to amend Article 1 of Chapter 3 of Title 3 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to provisions regarding the regulation of alcoholic beverages generally.
Chair recognizes Chairman Harrell to explain his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At your discretion, you might want to turn off the audio and video for a second. I'm going to say some kind words about the Senate. This bill originated in the House. House Bill 879 was the home delivery bill that we passed by an over 2-to-1 margin. And the Senate actually improved it in a number of respects, and let me share those modifications with you. If you have the bill in front of you, in Section 1, they've included House Bill 674, authored by Chairman Alan Powell, that begins the process of streamlining permitting and renewals for our retailers in combination with the Department of Revenue and their local government. So this begins the process to streamline those renewals, reduce burdens, and reduce duplications there. So that's House Bill 674 in Section 1, great improvement. In Section 2, this is an issue we've worked on for a year or two. You will recall back several years ago we passed the so-called brunch bill that requires referendums in local communities, and if it passes in a local community, you could potentially buy for on-premise consumption as early as 11 a.m. What Section 2 does is it maintains all those referendum requirements, but it would allow the local governments to allow for both on-premise and off-premise as early as 11 a.m. So you could also purchase at a Kroger, for example, as early as 11 a.m. once the referendums are passed and then approved by the local government. So again, I think that is an improvement as well. In Section 3 of the bill, this is basically the delivery bill that we passed previously, and there is one modification, a significant modification, again, one that I'm supportive of. When it left the House, it was beer and wine only, and the Senate has included the ability to get packaged spirits through a package store in the delivery portion of the bill. Let me remind everyone here that all those safeguards that were placed in the bill remain. None of that was changed. So it's actually a safer and more documented process to make a purchase through delivery than it is at the counter in any retailer. At the counter in any retailer, they may glance at an ID, they may record a birthday, but in this bill, in every instance, you're going to know the buyer's name, address, photo identification. You're going to know all the information about the drivers, and you're going to know who receives it, including a signature, a guaranteed photo ID that is scanned and retained. So it's a much safer process through delivery than it is over the counter in any of our retailers. If you have a paper copy, turn to Section 4, beginning on page 13. Again, the Senate has added an issue that we've had here before. This is House Bill 76 that was authored by Chairman Ron Stevens, dealing with distances. This measure passed the House by 129 to 34. And what this does is it allows the local government through their local ordinances to reduce the distance with regard to college campuses and college campuses only. It does not change anything with regard to K-12 or churches, but the state distance requirement with regard to college campuses would be a maximum, and with the local ordinance, local support, the locals could make a modification on the distance with regard to college campuses. Those of you that know Savannah well know that there's a wonderful university there, Savannah College of Art and Design, but they've bought buildings all over the place, and so they're scattered throughout the community. The same is now true here in Atlanta with Georgia State, Georgia Tech. The same is true in Athens with the University of Georgia, and so this allows the local governments to make a modification on distances if they choose. And then finally, if you'll turn back to page 15, Section 7 is a new chapter. And this is actually a Senate bill that was added here, and it was Senate Bill 146 that passed their chamber by a 2-to-1 margin, and this deals with tastings. Today, you are able to go into a retailer that sells beer and wine, which could be a grocery store, and as new products come to the market, they may offer you a sample before you buy the product in its package, a bottle of wine. But today, it's currently illegal to have a similar event inside of a package store. So the tastings in Section 7 would permit, under very strict circumstances, to have tastings inside a package store where the consumer could have a limited amount, and those amounts are listed there: 1.5 ounces of spirits, 5 ounces of wine, 8 ounces of beer. Once the local governments have been notified that this event is going to take place inside of a package store. Again, all the safety reporting requirements are unchanged throughout the bill, so I would ask your favorable consideration. Again, in this case, the Senate, I think, really did a nice job by putting House Bill 674, Chairman Powers, streamlining into it, putting the referendum requirements remain the same, but allow for off-premise and on-premise, maintaining our delivery bill with the addition of package stores, and then allowing the distances with regard to college campuses, House Bill 76, which was Chairman Stevens' bill, and then finally the Senate bill dealing with tastings. With that, Mr. Speaker, I'll be glad to answer questions and ask you to agree with the Senate substitute to House Bill 879.
You have a question if you care to yield.
Yes, sir, I will be glad to.
Chair recognizes Representative Stovall in room 341.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Is it not true that the portion of HB 674 that was included in 879 proposes to have the State Department of Revenue to regulate all alcohol licensing in Georgia, and that takes away from the local community or local jurisdiction because not all jurisdictions have the same regulations for issuing licenses?
I would characterize it very differently. What House Bill 674, the addition in Section 1 does, is it encouraged the department to develop a centralized program. Part of the discussion was when you go to get a license, you have background checks, and the information requested from one jurisdiction background check to another jurisdiction's background check might be duplicative. One might ask a little bit more, the other asks a little less. So what this is encouraging is a centralized program where the local governments and the Department of Revenue talk to each other and develop a more comprehensive single source, if you will, to make it less burdensome on the business person. The local governments, and it even says in that portion, if you look on lines 57 and 58, that the department may require that a valid local license or permit be issued prior to granting the state license. So the locals will maintain that ultimate decision-making authority. And that's true throughout this bill. And the home delivery too, let me mention that too, that if this bill passes and the state authorizes home delivery, that a local community can say, not in our town or not in our city. By ordinance, they can say, you can't have a delivery in our community. So we've maintained that in the bill as well. But thank you for the question.
Does the gentleman further yield?
Yes, sir, I'll yield.
Is it not true that there may be some concerns about the state finding a software package that could monitor all of these issues and more?
Certainly, development of software can sometimes be challenging, and this will be no different. So I do know that there are concerns with that. There's concerns with the time frame. Can we get it done in a shorter period of time, or is it going to take longer? But I would say that this certainly will encourage everyone to get started, and in the event that we are in the middle of June, coming up on sine die, the opportunity to extend that if need be is a very few months away rather than a year away.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Chair recognizes Chairman Beverly to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
Just a quick question around the liquor license. Does this bill contemplate that big box retail will be able to have the ability to sell packaged goods, liquor items at this particular point?
So this does not change in any way who may be a packaged liquor store or how many. So for example, in the state of Georgia, there is currently a 2-store maximum on package store. Does not change that in any way. So a big box retailer could potentially have up to 2 of their locations that sell spirits, but they could not have more than that. And this bill requires on all delivery that it comes off the retail shelf and goes directly to an address in that same taxing jurisdiction. So there is no shipping of any kind involved in this bill. So if you had a big box retailer that did have a package store, they couldn't be transferring that to other big box locations. If you had a big box retailer in one city, it would have to come off the retail shelf at that store and go directly to an address in that same taxing jurisdiction.
Mr. Gentleman, further.
Yes, sir.
So in that particular circumstance, a big box retailer could get the ability to deliver alcoholic beverages.
Yes, sir.
And because they're a big box, wouldn't they necessarily cannibalize the smaller guys in the community that are in that community who have the 2 licenses that may not have the ability to scale their operation to actually get?
And that's a good question too. And keep in mind, again, mentioning with the 2-store limit, by definition, every package store in business in Georgia is a small business, because the most you can have is 2. So they are small businesses. So this is, and the testimony we received about the apps and the technology available today, quite frankly, many of those smaller mom and pops, if they so choose, would simply sign an agreement with one of the software app providers, and their startup costs could be as low as 0, and start making the product available through that app.
Do you yield for another question or two?
Yes, sir, I will.
Chair recognizes the chair of the House Ethics Committee, Chairman Meeks, to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
Is it not true that this is another liquor bill that our teetotaler committee needs to be aware of?
This is definitely a liquor bill, and I would never approach the teetotaler committee. We have no votes on all alcohol bills, and I respect the people that choose to vote that way, and they do that for a number of reasons. And I hope no one here has ever found me to try to be persuasive when I recognize there are a number of reasons why people would not want to support any alcohol measure, and I respect you as being a teetotaler and taking that position.
Does the gentleman continue to yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
I appreciate that. I let one slip by me before. And I
That was Chairman Green that did that to you. I would never do that to you.
You got a cake out of it, though. Chair recognizes Representative Carpenter to your right for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I do.
I just want to thank you for bringing this bill. If anything is obvious, the COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic has shown us that we need to have this in the state of Georgia, and this is moving Georgia to the 21st century in as far as alcohol and package. Thank you, sir, for bringing this bill.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, with that, I'll yield the well and I'll ask for a favorable vote. And as I do, let me just remind, this bill just passed a day or so ago in the Senate with an 82% positive vote. We can do better.
For what purpose does Representative Al Williams rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not true that I wanted to
What-
ask the gentleman?
Is this a parliamentary inquiry?
Parliamentary inquiry,
Yeah,
sir.
okay. State your inquiry.
Thank you, sir. I wanted to, is it not true that I made application to be in the Teetotalers Club and was turned down?
Those background checks are heck, aren't they?
They're tough. But is it not further true from a very serious standpoint that I really heard the argument about how the big boxes, namely our friends at Walmart, would not affect anybody. And that was right before most of the moms and pops and the locally owned businesses went out of business with feet up. And there were a few teetotalers that went out too.
If the gentleman so states, he seems to be very knowledgeable, and I'm sure he knows whereof he speaks. On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute, House Bill 879, those in favor of the motion will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Anulowitz, Barr, Barton, Benton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Efstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkel, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
No.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett,
Yes.
Caldwell.
Absolutely.
Campbell,
No.
Cantrell. No! Dickerson,
A resounding yes.
Dukes. Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
No.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett, Jones, J.B. Kirby,
Yes.
Lott, Mathis,
Yes. No.
Metz, Momtahan,
Heck no.
Park,
Yes. No.
Rogers, Singleton,
No.
Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R. Barr, Bazemore, Benton, Bernal, Clark, Corbett, Dempsey, Dukes, England, Fleming, Hitchens, Hobson, Houston, Jones V, Couch, Lopez Romero, Lumsden, Meeks, Morris G, Morris M, Petrie, Reeves, Scott, Sharper, Smith R, Tanner, Thomas A.M., Thomas E., Watson, Williams A., Williamson.
Okay, members will look at the board and make sure it's accurate. You do not want to go home having made a mistake in how you vote on this one. Not telling you how to vote, just all right. Any issues with the board? Clerk will lock the machines. On the gentleman's motion, the ayes are 114, the nays are 45, and this House has agreed to the Senate substitute, House Bill 879. I didn't. What purpose does Representative McLaurin rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, isn't that true that the teetotalers were the ones who sounded the most drunk when they voted?
I don't know if I would say that or not. But who? What purpose does Chairman Meeks rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Mr. Speaker, is it not true that our little caucus is growing?
It would appear so. All right. Chair recognizes Representative Rick Williams for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask this House to approve the Senate substitute for House Bill 983.
Representative Williams has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 983. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 983 to be entitled an act to amend Article 2, Chapter 1 and Title 42 of the Official Code of Georgia annotated relating to Sexual Offender Registration and Review Board so as to revise the information required to be provided by sexual offenders when they register.
Chair recognizes Representative Williams to explain his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, all this does is add half a sentence. It says, but the sheriff shall be authorized to photograph the offender. I'll be glad to answer any questions, Mr. Speaker.
I do not see any questions.
I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you very much.
On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 983, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no, and the clerk will unlock the machines and call the roll.
Alexander, Manulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Chokus, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, Laricchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E., Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A., Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernau, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D, Jones S, Jones T, Jones V, Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B, Moore C, Morris M, Nelson, Huen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaud, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M, Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner, Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes. Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green, Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan, Park,
Yes.
Pruitt,
Yes.
Rogers, Singleton,
Yes.
Stovall,
Yes.
Williams R,
Yes.
Barton, Beverly, Cooper, Corbett, Davis, Dickey, Dollar, Douglas, Frazier, Gravely, Green, Hitchens, Jones J, Knight, Lopez Romero, McCall, Meeks, Nelson, Nix, Ridley, Smith R, Smith V, Tarvin, Thomas A.M., Thomas E., Wilson.
All right, everybody look at the board. Make sure it's accurate. Who's calling? Representative Gravely. Chairman Gerald Green is in 341. Is he going to vote?
Yes.
He voted. Anybody else? Clerk will lock the machines on the Motion by Representative Williams. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 983. Chair recognizes Representative Meeks for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I move that the House agree to the Senate substitute to HB 894.
Representative Meeks has moved that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 894. The clerk will read the caption.
House Bill 894 to be entitled an act to amend Code Section 243 of the Official Code of Georgia Annotated relating to Seed Development Commission composition, offers, bylaws, quorum, compensation, records, audits, and bonds.
Chair recognizes Representative Meeks to explain his motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, the Senate substitute to HB 894 makes a couple changes in the implementation date of the appointments that are made. And on line 82 changes it from an even number year to an odd number year and changes the effective date to January 1, 2021. Mr. Speaker, that's the changes in the bill. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
You have a question, do you yield?
Yes, sir.
Chair recognizes Chairman Barr to your left for a question.
Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Does this bill have anything to do with the Satilla River?
This bill does not have anything to do with the Satilla River.
Thank you, sir.
I do not see any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd ask for your favorable consideration. I yield the will.
On the gentleman's motion that this House agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 894, all those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. And the clerk will unlock the machines and call the rolls.
Alexander, Anulowicz, Barr, Barton, Belton, Bennett, Bentley, Benton, Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Bruce, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Jokas, Clark H., Collins, Cooper, Corbett, Dempsey, Dickey, Dollar, Drenner, Dubnik, Evstration, England, Irwin, Fleming, Fry, Gaines, Gardner, Glanton, Gravely, Harrell, Hatchett, Hawkins, Hitchens, Holcomb, Holmes, Houston, Hughley, Jackson M., Jaspers, Jones J., Kelly, Kendrick, Knight, LaHood, LaRicchia, Lumsden, Martin, Mathiak, McCall, Morris G., Newton, Nix, Oliver, Parrish, Parsons, Petrie, Perkle, Powell, Reeves, Rhodes, Rich, Ridley, Rutledge, Scoggins, Setzler, Silcox, Smith L., Smith R., Smith V., Smyrie, Stevens R., Tankersley, Tanner, Tarvin, Taylor, Thomas E. Trammell, Washburn, Watson, Welch, Werkheiser, Wiedauer, Williams A. Williamson, Yerda, Allen, Bazemore, Bernal, Cannon, Carter, Clark D., Clark J., Cook, Davis, Douglas, Dreyer, Donahue, Earhart, Evans, Frazier, Gilligan, Gertler, Henson, Hill, Hogan, Holland, Holly, Hobson, Howard, Hutchinson, Jackson D., Jones S., Jones T., Jones V., Couch, Kennard, Lopez Romero, Marin, McLean, McLaurin, McLeod, Meeks, Mitchell, Moore B., Moore C., Morris M., Nelson, Wen, Paris, Prince, Pullen, Robichaux, Saints, Schofield, Scott, Shannon, Sharper, Smith M., Thomas A.M., Turner, Walensky, Wilkerson, Williams M.F., Williams N., Wilson, Beasley Teague,
Yes.
Bonner,
Yes.
Buckner,
Yes.
Burchett, Caldwell,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Cantrell,
Yes.
Dickerson,
Yes.
Dukes,
Yes.
Gamble,
Yes.
Gilliard,
Yes.
Gordon,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Gullett,
Yes.
Jones, J.B.,
Yes.
Kirby, Lott,
Yes.
Mathis,
Yes.
Metz, Momtahan, Park, Pruitt,
Yes.
Rogers,
Yes.
Singleton, Stovall,
Yes. Yes.
Williams R. Beverly, Blackman, Bodie, Burns, Carpenter, Carson, Carter, Clark H., Gilligan, Henson, Jones J., Jones V., Lopez Romero, Oliver, Powell, Reeves, Ridley, Saints, Smith M., Tankersley, Tanner, Thomas A.M., Thomas E., Washburn, Williamson.
Did y'all get Representative Oliver's vote? Yeah. Representative Bodie. Majority Leader. Look at the board. Look at the board and make sure it's accurate. Clerk will lock the machines on the motion to agree to the Senate substitute to House Bill 894. The ayes are 162, the nays are 0. This House has agreed to the Senate substitute to House Bill 894. What purpose does Chairman Stevens rise?
To make a motion, Mr. Speaker.
State your motion.
I move that Senate Bill 162 move back to the Rules Committee, recommitted.
Chairman Stevens has moved that Senate Bill 162 be recommitted to the Rules Committee. Clerk will read the caption. All right, would you withdraw that motion, and we'll get you here shortly? Is the chairman asking for unanimous consent to withdraw his motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there any objection to the motion being withdrawn? Chair hears none, and it is withdrawn. Okay, so here's our plan. We are going to now take about a 15-minute break, stretch our legs, restroom break. The clerk's office tells me the budget has been printed. If you wish to go ahead and get a copy and start reading it front to back, then are they out back? Why don't we do that? All right, so they will be distributed over the break and put on your desk. So at the end of the break, you will have the budget, and we're going to come back in and take up some more business. I don't plan to keep you very late tonight, but we're going to take a short break at this time. We'll be in recess for 15 minutes.